Welcome back to the Shack. Today what we are looking at is PESTEL analysis. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off by putting it into a context by looking at the JSW rational model and see where this fits into it. And then we're going to go through some analysis and give you some examples of some of the issues that may crop up when you perform this type of PESTEL analysis. Now, we have got our bog standard JSW, Johnson, Scholes and Whittington rational model of strategic decision making. And we've got three different stages: strategic analysis, strategic choice, strategic implementation. And as you may already know, I call this the SACI model because it's strategic analysis, choice, implementation, SACI. I appreciate it's not the same way that you spell the Japanese wine, but it's a nice thing to remember when you're doing this type of complicated issue. Now, when I'm looking at PESTEL analysis fits into the strategic analysis part of our JSW model. And what it does is it gives me the big picture understanding. So when I'm looking at my external environment, what I'm looking at is the general macro environment. So there's my PESTEL stuff in the darker blue all the way around the outside. If I was looking at some sort of industry-wide analysis, I'd be looking at Porter's five forces. So we're going to look at Porter's five forces within a different section, and you can see how these two different analyses come together quite nicely. Then you've got the internal resources and the internal competencies. That's the yellowy greeny bit right in the middle of our model here. So you can see how all of these different things fit together to give you a complete analysis of everything which is going on. Now, when I am performing an external analysis, it's not just those two models that I'm going to use by themselves. I am going to use those, but in addition to that, I'd also expect to have to use some sort of SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you can see that will fall out from the middle of our wheel before to show what we've got and what we haven't got. PESTEL is what we're going to look at here. Porter's five forces, the Porter's generic strategies, and the BCG matrix we look at within different beat shacks. So we're going to look at those in different sessions. So let's have a look at this PESTEL analysis and start off by saying, what on earth does it stand for? Well, PESTEL stands for political issues, economic issues, social issues, technical issues such as technical development, environmental and social responsibility issues, and then legal issues as well. Now, all of these different areas need to be looked at when we are performing an external analysis of our external environment. The PESTEL analysis can be performed for the jurisdiction that you're operating in already. So that would be a domestic PESTEL analysis, which means you're looking at what's going on within your own country. Or if you're thinking about expanding overseas into a different jurisdiction, you could do an international based PESTEL analysis. Doing it internationally is going to be a little bit harder because you may not have sufficient information to hand. You may have to go out and buy it, which now means it may become a little bit more expensive as well. Now, PESTEL, once we get into it, will allow me to actually find out what type of problems or what type of issues are going to crystallize within my own jurisdiction or internationally. And that now allows me to identify critical success factors, those CSFs. And once I've identified my CSFs, that will then allow me to determine my KPI, my key performance indicator, to make sure I achieve my CSF. And then that will now make sure I hit my strategic objectives and my mission statement. Any type of changes that you identify within your new PESTEL analysis when compared to the previous one will now allow you to revise your KPIs and potentially change the CSFs as well. Risk and uncertainty get included within this model as well, because you can have a look at which issues you can potentially control to some extent and which issues you just simply have to monitor. So let's get into it and actually work out some of these issues. I need you to get your pens ready, guys, because you need to write down lots of various different bits and pieces here. So we are looking at things such as political factors. Examples of political factors would include things such as tax policy or a change in tax policy, government stability, foreign trade regulations, international bodies that your current country is a part of, or maybe if they're just leaving it. There's some really, really big trade bodies around the world forming at the moment, specifically around Southeast Asia, which are going to be amazingly powerful. So that's something to be looking at. From an economic perspective, we're looking at interest rate policy, exchange rate policy, inflationary issues, unemployment issues. Is there an economic cycle that you can identify? Where are you in that cycle? Business confidence, something that the accounting bodies like to measure extensively all the time. And if you are a qualified accountant, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We get loads of questionnaires asking about this. Social issues can include things such as demographics, so the age ranges of the people within that jurisdiction. Are they all really old? Are they all really, really young? Are they of working age? Are they male? Are they female? How it splits down into different age categories. Their attitudes to work. Do the people like to work? What's the culture of the entire jurisdiction? Do you not like to work? You can have a look at other cultural issues in here. And in addition to that, fashion and changes in taste. So my old bell bottoms, unfortunately, are not quite as fashionable as they used to be back in the 70s, but you know what? They're still comfortable. Technological issues can include things such as changes in processing technology, changes in distribution technology, changes in retail technology, the idea of just scanning things and letting them go beep instead of having to ring everything up at the till when you go to the shop to buy your groceries. Product obsolescence, because a new piece of technology has come along, such as some sort of electronic music machine, or even just having electronic apps on your phone, which allows you to listen to music, has now meant that records and CDs have sort of gone a little bit by the wayside. The E stands for environmental and social issues. It also includes ecological issues. And this is something that the big professional bodies internationally are very, very keen on pursuing. You're looking at environmental impacts. So you could have a look at environmental management accounting issues, which can include things such as an input-output analysis. You can look at sustainability issues, corporate and social responsibility issues, scarce resource problems, climate change. How much is your business killing the planet? What can you do about it? From a legal perspective, last and by no means least, we're looking at legislation such as employment law, which can include things like minimum wage legislation, health and safety issues. Do you have a monopoly legislation in place? Does the local jurisdiction encourage monopolies? You just don't know. It all depends. All these different areas will be included within your PESTEL analysis. Now, hopefully that's made sense. It's quite a wide-ranging analysis. There's quite a lot of stuff to be looking at here, and you do need to tie this into the other Big Shack sessions when we start looking at things such as the 5 forces and the BCG, etc., etc. I hope all of that has made sense for you, boys and girls. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll see you back at the beach very soon.